Hey everybody, it's March, and we're doing it again. I'm surprised I've stayed consistent. This month I actually listened to 18 albums, 2 of which got reviews, Mainstream Sellout and Imperia. So this month we'll have 4 groups, 1 headliner, and then 3 quicker albums. Sound good? Great. So let's just jump right in with whatever the hell this EP is. I think Gayle is really trying. Like, it's very obvious to me that Gayle's trying. And I'm not faulting her for that. There are songs on this album that I actually, or EP that I actually don't hate. You're Just Horny is fine. It's not anything special, but it's fine. It has an AJR type acoustic. It has some pretty decent intro lyrics with this, but it's so overblown that it just flat out doesn't work all the time. And then Kiddie Pool is actually a really good track. It has amazing vocals, a nice intro guitar, some pretty good percussion, and a great outro. It's a nice track, and it's a nice way to end the EP. However, I feel like I just have to talk about the bad ones real quick. Sleeping With All My Friends is such a terrible track. A, B, C, D, E, F, U. Is there anything I can really say about this track that hasn't already been said? Love Starred, some shitty lyrics, a meh as hell beat, and some very terrible vocal recordings. Like, this EP, it has moments where I think, maybe it'll get better, and then it just never does. Everyone's clowning on MGK, but I really haven't seen enough for Sueco. There are tracks on this thing that actually do work. Today, Paralyzed, Loser, Toxic Therapy, and SOS. Not all those tracks are great, but they're good. However, for every one of those, you get 2 tracks that don't. For example, Sober/Hungover featuring Arizona Service. You know, that one guy who did the Roxanne song, Prima Donna, It Was Fun While It Lasted, the fucking Drunk Dial, That's My Style. I don't like this album. It's not necessarily the worst pop-punk album I've heard in the past 3 for the 20s, because I think that goes to Heffy's album or Gum Disease's album, but it's certainly not the best. Belmont strikes back here. The singles to this thing were really good. And this would be a really good album, but I think it needs some cutting. For example, In My Skin, Country Girl, and What I Lack are 3 tracks I would have cut. But other than those 3 tracks, this album is really good. I mean, those are the only 3 songs I find myself wanting to skip. Fully Sent is really good, a really good intro, with some amazing guitars and some great percussion. Parasitic was the single, like the quintessential single, and Bowser's Castle was also a really good song. The deep cut I'd recommend was Top Gun from the Top. Solid guitar, it's quick, it gets to the point, it's great. Diplomatic Immunity with Smoke DZA 103rd and Nimlo is really good. There's 2 people rapping on this thing, and I believe it's Smoke DZA and Nimlo, and they pass the mic like it's nothing. There's only really 1 song I find myself wanting to skip here, which is Main Event, but other than that 1 song, I mean, this album slaps. There's no denying it. In the immortal words of one Mike the Snare, Weezens, this is the first of the season's EPs or albums or whatever you want to call it, of Weezer this year. With Spring, I mean, I think it's fine. I like it, but there are tracks that I'm gonna skip. For example, Opening Night, because what are these lyrics? And also it's a bit too bubblegum, like, it's a bit too clean for me, you know what I mean? Shakespeare makes me happy, so happy. Or Sound of Drums. It's a really bland track with very generic lyrics and this very meh chorus. But there's also songs like the single Little Bit of Love, which admittedly is bland, but it's bland in a Weezer type way. I don't know if that makes sense, but I like it. Or Angels on Vacation, or The Garden of Eden, or All of This Love, that I think are amazing tracks, and I think are definitely worth listening through the EP. It's only 20 minutes. If you want, take a listen. This is the most generic indie album I've heard this year so far. Listen to Look Out, I guess. I like Bene. I wish this was more consistent, and it didn't feel like every other track was testing me if I wanted to finish this album, or EP, or whatever. But, I find myself asking the question, would I listen to this over a 10-hour loop of Super Lonely without the Gus Dapperton verse? And the answer this time is no. It's the same question I think Mike the Snare asks about, oh god, it's about one artist, I don't know. Go watch Mike the Snare, he's a lot better at this than I am. This Drug Church album was amazing. This is incredible, it doesn't miss a beat, it's quick, it's fun, it's amazing. There's only one bad song on this, and it's not even bad, it's just meh. I don't know. I mean, I think I would just... I think my favorite track is Super Saturated or Piss and Quiet, but, I mean, this album is so good. Listen to it now. Denzel Curry has yet to unimpress me. While there are tracks on this album that feel a bit slow or not necessary, really. Not that the meanings are necessary, but the album could have flowed better without them on it. I think this album is great. It's amazing, actually. I mean, I think the features on this album are on point. In fact, the two tracks I dislike don't have features on them, so there's that. I think the flows on this thing, I think the beats on this thing are really good. I think the messages on this thing, we get messages about mental health and racism and police brutality and suicide and gun culture and violence and all these things that are affecting America or affecting Britain or affecting any country, really. You can understand this from any country. As best exemplified from Zatucci, featuring Slow Tie, where they actually got a British rapper on, and the issues still remained poignant throughout the track. I don't know, this is a great album. I highly recommend a listen, even the tracks that I disliked, because, like, The Last was about racial issues in America, and the only thing that was stopping me from really enjoying it was that everything about it, besides the verses, like, if I were just to read it, it'd be really good, but there's music with it, and that isn't helping. I don't know. DaBaby has just lost his flavor on me, and Young Boy Never Broke Again never really had flavor with me. The only song I really liked him on was Bandit with Juice WRLD, and I don't really like that song anyways. It just kinda hits me sometimes. But some of these songs hit, like Hit and Wi-Fi, but almost all of them miss. This Rex Orange County album is actually really good. It has some amazing strings throughout it, and the lyrics are almost always on point, and there are very few dull moments throughout it, and it keeps me genuinely entertained and interested throughout the entire listening experience. And that goes to show for this Benny the Butcher album as well. Very few tracks I'd skip. In fact, I only think there's 2 that I'd skip. And, but they're not necessarily bad tracks, they're just not as good as the rest. I mean, the features on this thing are incredible. J. Cole, Stove God Cooks, Boldy James, Diddy, Conway the Machine, West Side Guns, and 38 Spesh. Jesus Christ, man. The tragic passing of Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins makes this album a lot harder to talk about, because I don't really have intentions of speaking ill of the dead. But that's not to say that this album isn't good. This is a good metal album. However, I think there are parts of this metal album that could have been better. For example, I think the vocals on some of these tracks, they're not very good. The deep sort of vocals, not the but just a bass sort of vocals, like that you would hear in your choir, like a kid's choir. I don't think those work very well, especially on Angel with Severed Wings, where there's this call and response between the deep vocals and just the regular Dave Grohl vocals. So it's Angel with Severed. Yeah, I can't do deep vocals. Angel with Severed Wings. Angel with Severed Wings. It's like that. However, that's not to say that there aren't tracks on this thing that are great. Insino, the opener Insino, has some amazing screams, some amazing guitars, and the way the guitar and the drums mesh on this track works so well. March of the Insane, the single, is really good. Come All Ye Unfaithful is hella good. But the magnum opus of this album is Becoming, a 7-minute track that is just incredible, with this menacing intro, and then everything just jolts in, and it's great. I highly recommend giving this album a listen, even if you're not a fan of metal, because there are passages on this album where it leans more into what the Foo Fighters does, more what I would call metalcore. But yeah, I'd give it a listen. This Charlie XCX album, it's good, but it's not like really good, you know what I mean? It's not great, it's not even good, it's just decent for me. I mean, there are songs like the title track, or like Good Ones, or like Constant Repeat, or Beg For You, or Baby, or Yuck, which is my favorite track, that make me really want to love this album. But then there's tracks like Lightning and Every Rule and Used to Know Me and New Shapes that make me really hate this album. This Cypress Hill record was, it was alright. I mean, some of the tracks slapped, like Take Over, Open Your Mind, and Bye Bye, but some of the tracks just made me not want to ever listen to rap again, like Champion Sound and The Ride. I don't know. This Wallows album is the definition of mediocre. There are songs that are insanely good, insanely well done, insanely well produced, with the instrumentals on point, and then there are songs that make me literally never want to hear a song again, that make me never want to watch film again, that make me want to shut out all art from the world and become Amish. And that was March. I hope you enjoyed the video. For next month, the plan is to do another one of these, so for April, and then also there will be a discography review for Rage Against the Machine. The month after that, it'll just be a monthly review, and then the month after that, we'll get me ranking all my 10 out of 10s, a monthly review, and then a discography review for Brockhampton, so that'll be fun. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great week, evening, month, whatever you're doing, make it great.